It is 27 degrees centigrade here in Abuja. Lovely weather all the same. And what you see right here, oh dear. So I didn't actually think that this is part of the city. But
why? Why don't you think this is part of Abuja Chamberlain?
I was going to ask Ayo if he was playing games on me because I'm seeing some of the roofs I know in some neighborhood, in some other areas.
Yeah, it does look
This is what they call on Pape Crush Rock,
yes,
right?
Pape Crush Rock. Good morning. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Kayla Magwa. And there on your screen, you're looking at Pape Crush Rock. It's a tourist thing. A lot of people go to Pape Crush Rock to take pictures. People hike in that area. You know, it's one of those places where we're wondering what the FCT administration is going to do about this place. You know, because you have to be very careful in this neighborhood. And of course, there are questions. There's a lot of blasting that happens in this particular vicinity. So, you know, a lot of houses in this area in Pape have crushed. Many of them are cracked, you know. But there on your screen, Crush Rock, if you've been there, maybe send us a message on our socials and let us know, you know, what your experience was.
So it turns out that this was the place that they said it was opened in 1977, shortly after they declared that Abuja was going to be the capital. And so they got a lot of the rocks they used in building the city from this kind of areas. And then it was abandoned in what, is it 2010 or thereabout? So now, I think the FCT needs to see what can they do about this place. So this is tourists go here, right?
Yeah, a lot of people go here. A lot of people go there to take pictures. You know, when you do go into Crush, you know, if you're in the lower levels of the Crush Rock,
I hope this camera is going to go underwater.
I hope so too. It just looks really beautiful. It's a lovely scenery, you know. But if they're going to do something about this place, then make it something people can, you know, feel safe when they go there. Maybe put some security around the place, you know, and maybe clean it up a little, make it something beautiful. I think that's one of the issues that we have with, you know, places like this in the FCT. They exist, but it's almost as though there's nothing being done about them. I remember watching you and Malpe last week where you looked at the middle of Nigeria on Katampe Hill and just a block on the floor, you know, nothing special about it. If we're going to do something about it, then let's do something about it already. But yeah, right, those are people.
It's a lovely discovery. They could turn this into...
You could turn it into so many things. It's just, you know, Pape, you know, security is a big issue in Pape. So there, Crush Rock, Pape.
All right. Yes, indeed. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. I'm Chamberlain Uso. So, yes, indeed, don't forget, if you're going, anywhere you go, just always look out and be sure that you raise your level of security such that, you know, you don't have any excuse to complain whatsoever thereafter. All right, let's take you through some of the scenarios to expect today in the country. Let's see, which one are we going to have first? There are quite a number of scenarios that are playing. The National Emergency Management Agency. We've talked about this for a while. Now, it turns out that today, we understand that they will be having some sort of meeting to see how they could talk about management of emergency response. I know that I think they talk about the preparedness and response. How do they do? Their duty, they say, is to coordinate all of these scenarios. But there's a big question mark and a big gap in terms of capacity, efficiency, the kind of result they provide. So given the amount of money that goes to agencies like this, they need to be properly coordinated. You have to make sense with what you do and impact lives. So if you can't improve in those key areas, those are your KPIs. It's not just maybe after many weeks or months you go distribute Indomie noodles and think that does it. Well, a drop in the ocean, but you could do way much more. Can't afford to waste money these days, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you totally, and they are correct. It's they coordinate the response. So when there's an emergency, fire service, police, so everyone that has to, you know, do all of that, they have to make sure that they do better. All right, so that's not the only thing happening today. We also have a briefing for something pretty special if you're a fan of the Royals, even though they may not be known as the Royals anymore. But Royal Visit Defense Headquarters is going to be doing a briefing on Prince Harry and Meghan's visit to Nigeria. It's suspected that they will be in Nigeria sometime this month. It's got to do with the Invictus Games. The Invictus Games held in Germany, the last one, and the next one is going to be in Vancouver, in Canada.
And Nigeria had a pretty good showing.
Oh yes, we had a pretty good showing in the that was our debut. It was our debut in Germany, and you know it's one of those situations where we want to be able to showcase. I think that's what the Invictus Games is. Servicemen or people with disability to be able to show that they are. They can still deliver in this area. It's like a magical story, isn't it? It's a beautiful idea. But the Defense Headquarters is briefing today on this visit. I'm sure it's going to be about the coverage and what they're going to, because they're going to be seeing a lot of things. They're going to be going for a lot of meetings, a lot of engagements when they come into the country. So that will be happening today as well.
Okay, so how about this? We've got a question for you. Okay, well, business. They've got a question during that time, so they need to ask this appreciation, the improvements, the gains that the Naira has recorded. Sustainability is a big question mark, so they will be talking about all of that. So I don't know who will not be interested in the economy because that affects everybody, so you need to tune in at that time. As a matter of fact, just keep it locked so you can get all the details about that.
That recovery of the Naira is actually pretty interesting. It's like a dance, isn't it? It just feels like the Naira and the dollar have been dancing for a while.
I will see what Ladi will say about the cryptocurrency. We've got news for him on the dailies. As a matter of fact, let's go right there. Let's take you through some of the dailies right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the front pages this morning. We'll start with the Guardian newspaper this morning. Consumers seek lower tariff as NERC adopts monthly review. 1,227 Naira dollar rate is a big lead on the front page here today. Talking about electricity, so that is still making the rounds at the moment. Well, Daily Independent is the next one here. Labour rejects Band A electricity tariff reduction to 206 Naira 80 kobo per kilowatt. Insists on reversal to 66 Naira per kilowatt shareholder engagement. So that's some reaction from that reduction or that implementation, whatever it is that was done yesterday up until today. So getting more reactions on that one here this morning. And then from then on to Nigerian News Direct. Currency manipulation. SEC to delist Naira from P2P platforms. Vows to support digital assets players contributing to economic growth. So some more development on that one. But that's not all there is to it. Daily Trust equally follows through with that one. FG cracks down on illegal crypto traders as SEC rolls out new regulations. So, interesting times, I tell you. Have a look at Vanguard newspaper, petrol scarcity. Why pump price is high in our stations, ascribed to Ipman. Price gap between major marketers and independents widens. Major marketers in B2B transactions. So, oh dear. So there will be, of course, a lot more reaction on that one. So what do you expect? So it affects everybody, hence that reaction you see there. And then blueprints. Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway. Presidency tackles Atiku over conflict of interest claim. Accuses ex-VP of hypocrisy, bad politics. And the other right on the front page here says Tinubu-led administration attracts $20 billion in 1 year. So that's what you see right there. The Daily Times, no plan for foreign military base establishment in Nigeria, ascribed to the federal government, says it neither received nor is considering proposals for establishment of foreign military base in Nigeria. It's a threat to Nigeria's national security sovereignty, PRP warns. And then FG to prioritize satellite technology to advance national development, ascribed to Festus Keyamo, the Minister of Aviation. Have a look at this, Nigeria. Measles epidemic rattles Adamawa. Schools shut down to prevent further spread. 42 persons reportedly dead, 308 affected, and 21 local government areas on red alert. So that's what you see right there. And then the Nigerian Observer, FGLA's fears, says not considering any foreign military base. Look at some of the dailies here. All right, so the Guardian, alongside some other papers, did pick up on the tariff, electricity tariff. Very, very important, I tell you. And so on the front page there, you get to see consumers are asking for lower tariff as NEC adopts monthly review of 1,227 naira to the dollar rate. So what they did, what NEC published is that there's that review on the front page of the Guardian, which has now been done by short of 19 naira. So if you were on band A, you've got, I think it's now, according to what they say, 206 naira 80 kobo per kilowatt hour. That's what they say it is now. From what, 225 naira per kilowatt hour for band A customers. So, and some other discos put up notices that they've started implementing this one, but it's there's still a lot of uncertainty, clarity in terms of what people are asking. So are they doing this to see how they could, you know, let people calm down a little bit? But I'm not sure Labour is buying this, because clearly Labour, as you've seen there, say, look, they want more. They want you to go back to the 16 naira per kilowatt hour. And so this doesn't cut it for them. I guess if you're given an inch, so they will take a mile. And then besides, is this as a result of all the hue and cry that went on? But they think that this is the
of the dollar and the naira, you know.
So, and then the service delivery is still a big question mark. Yes, they hiked it, even though they've done this. Many people seem nonplussed about it because service delivery is still at its lowest ebb. So it's just for band A, because those are the ones that were increased in the first instance. Yeah. So they said, what, 50 million odd Nigerians who are on that band. But as it is now, many still feel they could do way much more than this.
I mean, 19 naira less per kilowatt hour. It's not bad, but more.
Do you get the supply?
Do you get the supply? That's the issue.
They say apology comes only if you have less than 20 hours consistently for 2 consecutive days. Then they can issue an apology to you. So they say.
Let's keep watching this sector and see what happens. The blueprint stands out for me, just so we can update from page 7 there. No plan to have military base in Nigeria. The federal government has been speaking up. The Minister of Information actually gave this update yesterday. So all the fears, and said, oh, don't worry about it. There's no plan to have any military base in Nigeria. So that's from the federal government. But also the Lagos Calabar coastal highways in the news again, and the presidency is tackling Atiku over the conflict of interest claim. It's a very interesting story, one that you can get more on from the front page there of the Blueprint newspaper, accusing the ex-vice president of hypocrisy and bad politics. Of course, he did accuse the federal government of conflict of interest. Look, your son, President Tinubu's son, is on the board of this company. This is not right. But Mr. Onanuga was very quick to remind him, oh, you remember the telcos bit when you were vice president as well? So it's a very interesting dynamic. And we want to see how this all works out in the end. But if you're like me and you like stories like this, go on. It's Blueprint newspaper. Turn to page 8 there, and you get all the details of the story.
Okay, so there you go. That wraps it up with a look at some of the dailies here this morning. Don't forget, you can comment on whatever you may have had up to here. We like to hear from you this morning. That said, there's this development, an unfortunate scenario that is playing out here in Abuja, Brickwall School. Another unfortunate story. So we've got our correspondent, Lucky, who is standing by to give us a background. What exactly is going on? What is it that we hear about another person dead in another school? What is it this time? Good morning, Lucky. Could you give us an update? What's happening at the moment?
Good morning, Right now, I'm in front of Brick Hall School, opposite Games Village. The parents of the late child, Miguel Ovoke, she's here, and with some of her friends, we approached the school authorities to find out who we can talk to hear their own side of the story. They said no management staff of the school is on ground. And a policeman who accosted us here said we should wait for the autopsy results. But the parents are here to demonstrate that this child died while in school. And so the school should be held responsible. I've contacted the lawyer to the parents, Mr. Deji Adeyanju, who at the moment says he's at the hospital trying to get the corpse of the late Miguel. Miguel Ovoke is the name of the child. He was 4 years and 9 months old as at the time he died. And from the information I gathered, that he actually died on the 24th of April. And there has been a back and forth between the parents of the late Miguel Ovoke and the school authority. That is the situation right now. Just a few parents have converged in front of the school trying to see what they can do to get the attention of the authorities.
Okay, Lucky, just so we can make a bit of a correction, it's Brick Hall School. I'm seeing Brick Wall on that screen. It's actually Brick Hall, H-A-L-L.
It's Brick, yeah, it's Brick Hall.
Yes, Brick Hall, not Brick Wall. Hall. Okay, so the yes. details of this yes. story, you know, very worrisome. We're hearing a few things. The mother stormed the school yesterday, if I'm correct. She was there yesterday, wasn't granted access. We're hearing things about an autopsy that was done and that the report of the autopsy is different from the report that we're getting from the school. Could you help us understand what's really going on there?
Yeah, from what I gathered, they said we should wait for the official release of the autopsy results. But information available reveals that what the school is claiming happened to the child, the late Miguel Ovoke, is not exactly what happened. And so the investigating police officer I met here on ground this morning says we should wait for the official report of the official release of the autopsy results. Perhaps we may want to talk to the mother of the child, who is also here with some of our friends, trying to tell us.
Yeah, if we could just take a look at it, because I hear it's supposed to be a protest, just so we could take a look at the people who are there, you know, and of course this is something that we'll be following up for the rest of the day. Maybe we should take a look at the mother.
Yeah, he's going to talk to her.
Yeah, can we have her?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's just trying to.
I've sent for her. She's coming.
Yeah, so he's trying to summon the mother of Miguel Ovoke, late yes. Miguel Ovoke. 4-year-old boy, I'm yes. gathering, a 4-year-old boy, and a very tragic story that's developing here in the nation's capital.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty shocking, and she's clearly shaken about all of that. And so she had already gone on, she had tweeted that she needed help from Nigerians, how all of this happened, and I think she went to Brick Wall from Brick Hall School, trying to get some sort of response about all of this. So the lawyer, as he said, Deji Adeyanju, trying to get some details and documents to proceed
from the hospital.
Yeah, for burial and stories such as that. And so they're having a protest today about that particular incident, which is very unfortunate. So I don't know, because time and again, when this kind of stories happen, you always think that that we will learn in terms of the kind of processes that we have in place in those schools.
I think she's there.
So
she's there.
All right.
Madam Ovoke,
I think Lucky is there. So let's.
Lucky, can we?
You go ahead and talk to her.
Yeah, please have just so we can get a sense of what she's feeling right now.
Okay. Can you tell us how you feel right now over what has just happened?
I'm very sad. Like, I can't believe this is a bad day that my son always wake up in the morning, pray for me, and we laugh about it. Like this morning, I woke up without a kiss, without a hug from my son, from my daughter. I don't even know where my daughter is.
Is it a girl or a boy?
A girl.
A girl.
Then my son, please, I don't. I'm not fine.
He's very devastated right now. It's our son, a 5-year-old boy, Miguel. a 4-year-old boy. We want justice for Miguel.
So what did the school authorities tell you that happened to him?
They said my son choked on the meat. He was eating his meat and he choked.
And have you been able to get an autopsy result to confirm this?
We did an autopsy, but I yet to get the result.
So how soon are you expecting the result?
That detail should be for my lawyer.
Well,
I mean, Lucky,
she says
Lucky
she's still expecting
if you can help us find out who's leading this protest. Is it the parents of children in the school?
There is a parent that is leading the protest.
I'm not a parent of this school. I'm a mother.
Okay.
I'm pained. We want justice for Miguel. We are mothers. We have come here to seek for justice. How can you bring a 4-year-old child to the school, ill and elderly? The next thing you get a call and they are telling you that your child was choked. You get into the hospital, a third child has turned black. And up to this moment, as we speak, the school management has not deemed it fit to visit her and explain to her. The senator came here last night and brought soldiers to the house. Because we came here to protest yesterday, no, we want justice. We are told that this school is for Senator Joy Mordi. We want justice for Miguel. All we seek for is justice.
We are here for harmless protest.
How many people brings us go key? How many people brings us go key?
Wow.
Hey, una go kill us, Taya. Hey, una go kill us, Taya. Hey, una go kill us, Taya. Justice
Oh,
for
clearly,
Miguel.
I mean, the parents and the parents there to play distraught about what happened. Sometimes you don't even know what to expect from some of these schools. You think that the basic minimum is put in place, but it turns out that you have to think again. But we do hope that they'll at least follow through with that and ensure that proper investigation is done to ensure or to find out what exactly happened and the right things be done. So that said, we will be back in just a moment. Stay on with us.
New beginnings are always colorful. When we celebrate the start of life's journey, we marry in colors. With our proudly Nigerian Dulux paints, now available in any color. Express your world however you want it. Visit a Dulux color center to get any color instantly. Dulux, let's color.
To thrive in this era of heightened geopolitical risks requires strategic leadership. Thus, to optimize your decision-making quotient and conceptual credentials, Texam invites senior executives to her upcoming program, Strategic Leadership Unleashed, Thriving in an Uncertain Global World. Join world-renowned professors Rodri Laline, Paul Griffith, and John Peters in the UK, who will adopt Texam's tested and proven methodology, which makes learning fun while enhancing your leadership prowess. Date 27 to 30 May. Secure your spot and enjoy a 1.8 million naira discount. If you apply before May 10th, don't just navigate uncertainty, thrive in it. For more information, call +44 7425 883 791 or email exec@texam.co.uk. Texam, insights that inspire, actions that change the world.
Do you know that you can now print all your essential items for events without even having to leave your home? It's the Cash Prints Combo Deal for all events.
Yes!
Weddings, conferences, birthdays, burials, etc. Starting from 495,000 naira only. You get 50 invites, 50 A2 size posters, 50 16-page brochures, 1 large backdrop banner, 1 roll-up banner, 50 jotters with pens, and 50 souvenir carrier bags. Whatever event you're planning, we can adjust to your budget and quantities. Just send your pictures and other information through WhatsApp, and we shall send a design for your approval. Approve your design, and we will produce with super high-quality digital print technology. We can even arrange delivery to your location. Call us now on 0913 156 5016 or 0812-794-9323 or visit our social media pages. Casprints, digital printing at super speed.
Cube is available in beef, chicken, jollof, and shrimp flavors at attractive prices of 100, 200, 500 naira, along with saver and super saver packs.
Terra Cube, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
Has proven that commitment to democracy and the rule of law remains our guiding light. At my inauguration, I made important promises about how I would govern this nation. Among those promises were pledges to reshape and modernize our economy and to secure the lives, liberty, and property of the people. I said that bold reforms were necessary to place our nation on the path of prosperity and growth. On that occasion, I announced the end of the fuel subsidy. I am attuned to the hardship that have come. I have a heart that feels and eyes that see. I wish to explain to you why we must endure this trying moment. Those who sought to perpetuate the fuel subsidy and broken foreign exchange policies are people who will build their family mansion in the middle of a swamp. I am different. I'm not a man to erect our national home on a foundation of mud. To endure, our home must be constructed on safe and pleasant ground. Reform may be painful, but it is what greatness and the future require. We now carry the cost of reaching a future Nigeria where the abundance and fruit of the nation are fairly shared among all, not hoarded by a select and greedy few. In Nigeria, where hunger, poverty, and hardship are pushed into the shadows and ever-fading past, there is no joy in seeing the people of this nation shoulder burdens that should have been shared years ago. I wish today's difficulties did not exist, but we must endure if we have to reach the good side of our future. My government.
All right, so there you go. That is the president speaking about some of the things to expect from him. And so those are some of the issues we'll be taking a look at this morning on the program. So we're joined by Mr. Adebayo Shitu. He's a former Minister of Communications. He's also former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice for your state, so he's a senior lawyer. So good morning, sir. Thank you for coming on the program today.
Dear brother.
So the promises of the president. Sister. In fact, let's take you through the additional promises that he made ever since he's been in office, aside from removing that subsidy, which spiraled into so many things. So if you take a look at the screen, you see some of the other promises that he made to Nigerians in terms of what he's going to do. So look at this one here. The president promised something about security. He says he's going to commit to reforming security doctrine and architecture, investment in security personnel, training, equipment, and firepower, among several others. The economy is targeting a 6% GDP growth and significant reduction in unemployment, budgetary reforms, promotion of domestic manufacturing, jobs, the big one. And then agric. As a matter of fact, we do remember that he declared an agric emergency in July. And ever since then, I guess the jury's out there on the impact of all of this. So bottom line is that as we speak, you have several people, tons of people, businesses have been closing down ever since. Cost of PMS and diesel, it's still unaffordable for lots of people. And so even the electricity tariff, which was hiked, not the 206 naira per kilowatt hour notwithstanding, many still not satisfied with what the kind of deal they've gotten so far. So now they have a big question mark. Is there anything they can boast of at this point in time in this government?
Well, let me start by saying that even though I am a member of the APC, I, as of today, don't work for government. I've never been an employee of the federal government under the leadership of our president, Tinubu. So I may not have all the facts, available. And I want to believe that having regard to the period and the service of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as governor of Lagos State for 8 years, every Nigerian was satisfied that he's a serious-minded politician and public servant, and that he knows his onions, and that he will definitely fulfill his promises. He's been in office for about 12 months now, and I want to believe that the Ministry of Information, Federal Ministry of Information, will have a scorecard. Perhaps we have to wait till 29th of May to hear government, tell Nigerians all the indices of their achievements.
Yeah, but businesses don't have to wait till 29th of May. They are feeling a pinch.
Yes, I feel it's not just businesses. I mean, even we as individuals, everybody has one inconvenience or the other that we are going through. We do know very well that things in Nigeria have virtually been run aground before even he came on board.
That was when you were a minister?
Well, I was minister, between 2016 and 2019. But the slide had always been there in Nigeria because of what we used to call Nigerian factor. When people say Nigerian factor, they hardly know what is meant by Nigerian factor.
Yeah, but the government you serve promised Nigerians a good deal. They said we're going to do this. They promised almost heaven and earth, as people say. And the rest, they say, is history.
Let me tell you. Even as somebody who served in the Buhari government during the first time, I am always honest enough to admit, certain failures that we had. For instance, the issue of refinery, I feel always very bad about it. The fact that when we were coming on board in 2015, we had promised that the refineries will be revived, within the shortest possible time. So the fact that we could not revive any of it, I always admit that is a failure on our part. But we are also...
Not just that, power sector too. Remember the promise for the power sector generation?
Yes, but I would also concede, and I think that...
10,000 megawatts. That's what they promised.
I am quite conscious of that. But I want to say that, and I have always been saying this, that while we failed in certain areas, like the reviving of the refinery, like the power sector, in the area of infrastructure, particularly transportation, the Buhari government did excellently well. I recall that the last budget of the Jonathan administration with regards to transportation, public roads, was 19 billion. I can say, confidently that not one kobo out of this 19 billion was spent on any federal road in Nigeria over the period. When Buhari came on board, the first year, as opposed to 19 billion of Jonathan, the government spent 265 billion on roads. So all the major national highways which had run aground, whose revival had been abandoned for 10, 8 years, was revived. We take, for instance, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. For more than 10 years, the road had been abandoned until Buhari came on board. And you agree with me that as of today, the road, is functioning to the satisfaction of road users. Again, several other infrastructure, including, railways, Lagos-Ibadan Railway, Abuja-Kaduna Railway, and a number of other national highways, was satisfactorily, completed.
Have you heard the comments from the current NSA and sometimes the Minister of Finance about the kind of economy they met, how the previous government under which you served spent printed funds, and they thought they couldn't even see what it was attached to?
Well, that was
economy is big deal.
That was a misapplication by the then central bank governor, who out of corrupt...
I would blaming it on the CBN governor, who the buck stopped at the president's table at the time.
Let me tell you, I mean, there were...
Who was taking directive from?
There were a lot of manipulations. And we even hear that a lot of the so-called approvers did not really emanate from President Buhari. There were a lot of manipulations. There were a lot of, fraudulent approvers which didn't emanate from the president.
Mr. Shitu, do you really want Nigerians to believe that something like this? We heard Mr. Wale Edun make this complaint very clearly. They were printing money. Is it you're trying to convince Nigerian people right now that these things were happening and the president had no idea?
I am telling you confidently that a lot of it didn't get to the attention.
That in itself is a very big problem. The idea that something like that could happen.
I agree. There were a lot of people around the president who really exploited their, relationship with the president to take advantage and, conspire with the then Senate, with the then governor.
It doesn't exonerate the then president from blame, because he would also have to answer for being used, if that's what you're saying.
I agree with you, but we must also say the truth, the details of what we came to know. And I hope that the EFCC will really, probe properly and, in details as to how these things happen without Mr. President knowing about them. I agree it's a failure. I mean, I can't be a president somewhere, and such things would happen, by people around me, and I would not know, and I would just, overlook it. It won't happen.
But I know you know the implications, because those persons who you're mentioning were appointed by the man who we elected.
I completely agree.
So the appointee, he is the one.
Completely agree. I mean, it's a failure. I mean, on the part of even the person.
Did you know these things were happening when you were minister?
No, I didn't. I couldn't have known, because I had only one mandate, and it was about communications, not about finance.
When the promises were being made, right? When the Buhari administration was making all those promises,
yes,
did you, in good faith, believe that he could deliver on these
I did in good faith, but it turned out that a lot of things happened. Even as an individual who had a mandate to oversee communication, there were a number of projects which I initiated, but which were frustrated along the line.
Such as?
For instance, I wanted to do an ICT university for Nigeria. And I made the proposal, and it got to the Federal Executive Council only for a number of our colleagues to oppose it. And at the end of the day, Mr. President said, Barrister Shitu, I want to commend you for your hard work on this memo, but this is an overambitious project. That was my saddest day in government. But things like that happen. You are an appointee of the
So that's one. The ICT University was rejected. What else?
Other things, I don't think we need to go into all of this. I don't want to start opening old wounds. But these are things which happen, and I was not happy, but at the end of the day, when the Federal Executive Council, as a body, rejects a proposal, you cannot...
Did you regret serving in that time?
I didn't regret. Of course, I was able to do a number of other very good things. So I couldn't have rejected. I have regretted.
So when you're listening to the promises now from the Tinubu administration...
Well, you see, Tinubu is a different person from Buhari.
Is it deliverable? You know what was left... You know what was on ground?
I want to believe so, because, you see...
Do you think he can?
In fairness, we have been in this country for the past 30, 40, 50 years. In Tinubu's period as governor, he was not the only governor in Nigeria. How many of his colleagues can you remember today that served in one seat or the other? He distinguished himself. I recall that before he came on board, during the military administration, the Bar Beach in Lagos was threatening to consume the whole of Victoria Island. And I also recall that the then Minister of Works, the late Abdul Karim Adisa, was spending more than 3 billion yearly to pump, sand on the Bar Beach, only for the Bar Beach to come and carry it again. But then Tinubu came, and he succeeded not only in taming the Bar Beach. Today, Victoria Island is a confident, place anybody can stay.
How does this affect the price of tomatoes in the markets?
Well, is life only about the cost of tomatoes in the market?
For many people, yes. How they're able to feed has come under question
are
recently.
Are you saying that those are not relevant achievements?
We didn't say they're not relevant achievements.
We have to admit.
But the Bar Beach, with all due respect, Nigeria is a lot bigger than that Bar Beach.
Look,
and we're looking at the lives of Nigerians.
We are talking of achievements of somebody for which we can rate him and say, if this Mr. A has been able to do 1, 2, 3, then he being as a president of Nigeria today, he must be able to, achieve much more for Nigeria.
Yeah, but
and I want to believe.
The campaigns are over.
I'm not campaigning now. I am
look at the promises. Several.
We need to be patient.
How long?
By the time he's celebrating his first year, I want to believe that he will have a lot to tell Nigerians.
By the time it's this month.
He has got, reached as of today, and where he's going to taking Nigeria through.
Are you impressed with what you've seen so far? The impact the economy is having on the average Nigerian as we speak. Are you?
The truth is, we are all going through hard times, including me. I always admit, because I don't work for government, I don't earn anything. I'm as common as any other Nigerian. And we go through this, going through the same market and all of that. But I have learned to be patient, because in reconstructing any edifice, you need time, you need patience, you need organizational ability and all of that. And I want to believe that in another 2, 3 months, Nigeria would be better than it is today.
So what makes you say so? Because you've looked at cost of goods, the rising inflation, it's double digits. He says they're going to bring it down, but these figures keep going south.
Nigerians, we are Nigerians, we know ourselves. The man who cultivates yam in the farm, is it the cost of cultivation of that yam that makes him to now double or triple the cost of it? When you talk of Nigerian factor includes the greed in us as Nigerians. It includes the compromises in us as Nigerians. It includes so many other factors. A lot of everything cannot be, put on the head of.
Are we blaming it on Nigerians now for electing the president?
We are all guilty of it. Government and people. We are all Nigerians.
I used to feel this way that you do right now until I spoke to someone who sells catfish in the market. And I kept telling him, why is the price so high? I mean, they say the dollar is, the naira is gaining against the dollar. And he said, naira gaining against the dollar, does that affect the cost of fuel? Which means that in his mind, the fact that fuel subsidy was removed in the first place has tripled his cost in transportation. So he says, when you look at the fact that I have increased my pricing, it's got nothing to do with the dollar to me. It's about the cost of transporting these goods and services.
Everybody will try to create a justification for what he does, whether it is, lawful.
But isn't that legitimate?
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
We have to hope that he was telling the truth, isn't it?
Your guess is as good as mine.
When you were a minister,
yes.
The government of former President Muhammadu Buhari rode on this lovely white horse called anti-corruption. And the change begins with me. Everyone, let's tighten up. We have to stop corruption. Then 8 years after, we're now hearing all kinds of crazy stories from people who were a part of that government.
It's unfortunate. Maybe the anti-corruption, the anti-corruption thing was not strong enough. 2 3, 4 people will definitely act differently if put in the same position. We must admit that is, part of our humanity. So I regret everything that has become an inadequacy in the Buhari government. But I am saying that we now have a different, person on board now, and having regard to his antecedents as a governor in Nigeria's most sophisticated state, we must hope and continue to pray that God will assist.
But Mr. Shitu, this was the same story the APC told us when Buhari was campaigning.
So we stop telling stories?
No, they told us Buhari had antecedents.
Yeah.
He's done this and that and this and that.
Yes, you see,
and actually, sir, you've seen the results afterwards, some of which you regret right now.
What Buhari has, which most people don't have, or which most people don't, understand, is Buhari as one individual is the most incorruptible human being I have ever met. This is somebody who had been a pensioner in the military. When he came in as president, he was entitled to be taking salaries also. But he said, no, I cannot be taking 2 incomes from the same government. I will suspend my pension from the military and retain only my salary as president. Both were legitimate to him, but out of his utmost good faith, he decided that he would not be taken.
I mean, that's beautiful.
Many people would
how many people was in his administration was he able to infect with this great honesty?
But I am telling you,
because I hear a lot of people from the past administration do this all the time. Oh, he wasn't the only person in government. He had cabinet, he had governors. So these lovely virtues, why didn't he trickle all the way down?
Limitation of Muhammadu Buhari. I'm not saying that is the ideal, but for once, I am telling you that he as a person, that is what he is. But the fact that he didn't have capacity to infect others with this, goodness is a limitation, which is human, and we must admit that that is how God created him.
But at the moment, if you look at the many promises of this current government, if we could have some of them come up now, we have showed you some previously in the area of economy, in the area of security, in the area of agriculture. He declared agric-emergency, which was supposed to affect the prices of food several months ago. And as we speak, many things, look, that was just
I want to believe,
a speech.
Yes. Well, I have said, number one, I'm not speaking for the government.
You don't have to speak for the government. You experience what goes on in society today.
I will tell you only what is available to me in knowledge. It is still work in progress, I want to believe. And I am happy and I want to believe that as we are discussing these issues, people in the Tinubu government will also be listening and will feel challenged about what we are discussing. So let us hope that in the next few months, we will continue to see greater changes in the affairs of this country.
Are you telling us now that a year is gone, and for many people who have closed their businesses, they should just listen to you and accept it?
So what is the alternative?
No, you, because
I mean,
your party promised heaven and earth.
Yeah, we did promise.
And this is the stark reality people are
facing. And I'm telling you, I don't work for government. I don't have all their briefs. I don't have all the information available to them, particularly with regard to how they are fulfilling these promises. I can only talk to the extent of my knowledge, which naturally would, be limited. So perhaps you want to look at the possibility of bringing in the Minister of Information and National Orientation so that
he can give us a scorecard. I think we're going to get that scorecard at some point this month.
Yeah,
They're working on that.
Look, the scorecard notwithstanding, for lots of Nigerians, their scorecard is their daily reality. Good. What better scorecard can be what they go through on a regular basis? We must get the size of the people.
Balance it. And in getting scorecard, you know that some people would have greater authority in giving you a scorecard than I, a private citizen, who does not work for government, who does not have all the feedback from the various ministries and the various officials charged.
So these issues are never discussed within your party at any point in time?
No. What is party? It's like you are saying, if the federal government does something, you say because you are a Nigerian, so you must know what the government is doing.
Even
The
as a high-ranking member of the party?
How high-ranking? What is the high-ranking?
You're a former minister.
The former minister.
You've been an attorney general of a state.
Of the past. Of the past.
So you have no influence whatsoever.
I won't have all the information as of today because I'm no more minister. And even if I'm minister, perhaps I will know only to the extent of my mandate.
Yes, but as a party man, you have no influence on the party.
We are all Nigerians.
No, do you have any
no platform within party where they will say, everybody come, let us discuss the issues. Political parties are mere platforms for people to utilize to ascend to offices. So it's not as if because I belong to APC, I'm not in the national executive of the party, I'm not in government, and you think there will be a platform for them to...
They don't have to call you. Are you saying you have no way of getting failures from your party members in terms of, guys, this is what Nigerians are saying. Look, we have to do better.
As a Nigerian,
we're not fulfilling the promise so far.
Of getting information from government, merely because you're a Nigerian, other than they publicizing it in newspapers or radio and television. I mean, political parties.
I know what you're trying to make it look like we're all Nigerians. No, you are a former minister. So the truth is that your influence is a little bit more than many people in this country. And as a member of the All Progressives Congress, if you've seen all of these flaws, you've seen all these things going on, do you bring it up? Does it come up at all?
You see, I want you to de-emphasize the fact that one is a member of a political party. If you are not a member of the party's executive, you are not a member of the government. The mere fact that you are a member of the party is next to nothing for you to get information. I won't get more information than you who is not a party, particularly in regard to government activities. That is the truth of it.
Even though you still campaign vigorously.
Of course I will. If I believe in the candidate, I will campaign for them.
If there was something the administration should be doing right now, just as a concerned citizen, you've made that clear, as a citizen of this country, you're a patriot, you have the best interest of your country at heart. If there was something the administration should be doing differently right now, what should they be doing?
I come from, with all due respect and in all sense of humility, I was trained by the late Chief of Bafemi Awolowo directly. I learned politics directly from him. If I have my choice, the 4 cardinal programs of the Unity Party of Nigeria will be the main area of governance. But I'm a minority. The privileges, the opportunities I had to train under the late Chief Awolowo, most people, never had it.
You said the 4 cardinal policies
the 4 cardinal
of the Unity
Party of Nigeria, which was led by our late sage.
What was it? What were those?
Free education at all levels.
Okay.
Free health services, integrated infrastructure development, and full employment. At any time I get the opportunity of leading any government, whether at the state level or the federal level, that will be my main manifesto.
Mr. Ashutu, I hope you will not tell us, well, I was this, but the other people around me.
No. If I am leader,
that's a convenience way.
If I'm the head of government, I mean, this is my belief, it's my philosophy. It is what I was trained in, and it is what we practiced while I was a member of the Oyo State House of Assembly between 1979 and 1983. But that was a political party which most people in government today never believed they belonged to.
Because, I mean, you gave us that example yourself, how you approached the president with your policies, and he said you're too idealistic. Yet you were around it.
It happened.
So the buck stopped at his table. So whether it's people around him or not, it's the man we elected.
Because I was a person in the government. I was in the cabinet. And my mandate was about communications and ICT.
Oh, but before we even wrap up this bit, let's talk a bit about that ministry and where it is now. Is it living up to the expectations you had?
I have since left that mandate, and I don't really have a business to make a follow-up on what is happening there. And it is not for me to make an update on what they are doing or what they are not doing, because
we're not asking for an update. Your thoughts on how it's performing right now.
I can only speak of my services while I was Minister of Communication.
Okay.
But you had an update with Oyo politics. You were not happy how the local government elections
Well, there was no election in Oyo State, if you care to know.
Why? Why did you say so?
Because they simply wrote figures.
Because PDP won all the local governments?
You see, it's not about just winning. If you win fairly and squarely, I'm a Democrat. And I'm a progressive-minded person. But I know, let me give you an example. I come from Shaki West local government with 228 polling units. There was no OSEC. OSEC means, Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission. No single agent of the organization came out to any of these 228 polling units. There was no election. The electoral officer for the local government simply disappeared on the day of election. They did not distribute any election materials, any ballot, nothing. And they had been singing. A senator was telling me yesterday that a prominent former senator was dancing on the day of the election. Which means we are going to write results. They were not, it was a very fraudulent so-called election. And it's very sad that Governor Makinde, as young as he says he is, would superintend such a fraudulent non-event.
Is there any recent election in this country that APC conducted in the states that they don't win all the local governments, or 99%?
If it happens, should it not be condemnable at any point, whether it is in the...
But it happens.
Well, if it happens, I mean, what's the matter?
It's regularly.
All
political parties do that.
Are you then using that to justify any such fraudulent election?
I'm asking because if it happened at that time, why didn't they hear voices of condemnation from within the same party?
I mean, I am condemning it. I mean,
when? APC, now? When it has since gone? Or
would I in that state to know what happened? I'm talking of my state where it happened that there was no election and results were written.
No, you don't have to be in the state to condemn something that you see is clearly bad.
Should that be my business?
It should be your business.
It should be you, journalist.
You're a citizen.
It should be you, journalist, not just...
No, you should also point it out. If you've been in government...
any such non-event anywhere. And this is what exactly I'm doing now. I mean, you don't just want to run me down or run our party down. I will condemn evil wherever it is.
So are you going to go to court with that? That's
left to me.
That's the process, the democratic process. You challenge this.
You leave that to us. You leave that to us. I'm not answerable to you on that.
What's the point of not challenging it? If you cannot take it further, what's the point?
What is your grouse now?
My grouse? I don't have any grouse. I'm asking you questions.
No, but I mean,
you don't have a grouse that the election didn't go well.
I didn't.
You said it didn't go well. You said you are the one who has a grouse.
Yes.
That it didn't go well.
So you leave whatever I will do, you leave it to me.
Are you just going to complain here and leave it?
No, it's not. That's not your business. With due respect to you.
No, my business is to ask you questions.
No, and my business is to answer whatever question I feel is justifiable.
So it's justifiable to say, well, you don't know if you will go.
Look, I am telling you what happened. You asked of what happened in Oyo State, and I'm telling you what, and you are,
I'm asking more questions. That's what I'm doing.
And I have told you that wherever non-events happen, I will condemn it.
It'll be nice to see you go to court with this, though. It'll be something that we'd love to follow. Our party will
take the decision at the appropriate time.
Because, when, like you said, when an injustice happens, complaining about an injustice usually isn't enough to get to right a wrong.
I appreciate that.
So if you did note that an injustice has happened, to be able to stand your ground on it.
I'm a lawyer of more than 40 years, so I should know what I should do.
That's take it upstairs.
Just leave that to us.
Okay, well, I guess that Nigerians are not smiling, notwithstanding right now, because the economic challenges everybody's facing, which you said that...
it's regrettable, there's no doubt about it.
You said they should wait for how long?
I am saying that people
2 months.
In government...
You said 2 months.
People in government know that they have a duty to make Nigerians smile. And as we are speaking, we are, it's a means of sensitizing.
Mr. Shitu, you said in 2 months things will get better. We will call you back in 2 months.
I could be available. And I pray.
Is it because you know that it will not be?
Why would it not be?
Why would it not be available in 2 months? You said here.
Available.
You will be available. Oh, okay. Fantastic.
I don't run away from fights, even though I don't start fights, but I don't run away from any fight.
Well, you said 2 months, things will be better. So
by the grace of God,
we hope to get back to you, God willing. Everybody will be alive at that time.
By God's grace.
Mr. Adebayo Shuti is the former Minister of Communications and former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice for your state and the senior lawyer at that. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
It's time for Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. Let's go over to the studios now.
An interesting conversation there. Chamberlain counting down 2 months for Mr. Shitu. I join you in counting down, but I don't know if we can hold Mr. Shitu in 2 months. Anyway, good morning. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. I'm Ini John Mekwa, and we will do business for just about less than 30 minutes. Starting from the global space, oil prices edged high on Tuesday after Israel struck Rafah in Gaza, while negotiations for a ceasefire with Hamas continued without resolution. Looking at the numbers, we see that it's gained. Obviously, when there's a threat to supply, obviously the prices will go up. So yesterday it was even higher than this. 0.28% is what we see. Yesterday was 0.4%. So we are still around $83.56 a barrel. WTI of the United States up 0.31% at $78.72 a barrel. And yes, the geopolitical issue is still a major driver of oil prices after it settled higher on Monday, partially reversing last week's declines. And then the Palestinian militant group on Monday agreed to Gaza ceasefire proposal from mediators, but Israel has said that the terms did not meet its demands. So we see that another backward movement right there. And then the lack of settlement between the parties in the now 7-month-long conflict has supported oil prices as investors worry about escalation. And then we come to Nigeria now. It seems consumers in Nigeria are getting really hit. A levy of 0.5%, equivalent to 0.5% of all electronic transactions. Note, all electronic transactions value by business specified in the second schedule of the Cyber Crimes Prohibition and Prevention Act 2015 is to be remitted to the National Cyber Security Fund, administered by the National Security Advisor. This is contained in that circular you're watching right there. That circular is from the Central Bank of Nigeria to all commercial, merchant, non-interest and payment service banks. The regulator notes that the levy shall be applied at the point of electronic transfer origination, and it should reflect in the customer's account as cyber security levy. So if you start seeing that in the narration on your account, that is what it's for, and it's set to begin in 2 weeks. That's about the 20th of this month. Financial institutions will remit the levies monthly to the NCEF account, which is domiciled at the CBN, by the 5th business day of the subsequent month. The circular is signed by the Director of Payment System Management Department, Chibuzo Efobi, and Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department, Haruna Mustafa. So this is another reality check for Nigerians, another levy you have to pay for every electronic transaction. Well, there are some exceptions, and that is if you're transferring money from one account that is yours to another account that is yours, and also for your salary payments and all of that. But I mean, most of the purchases and transactions, daily transactions, seem to be captured in this. But we'll talk about this later on today. So you want to watch Business Incorporated at 1:30. We'll drill in on this and you get the details of it, more understanding, and see if Nigerians will carry placards against this. That'll be on Business Incorporated. Please join us at 1 p.m. later on today. Now, we head to the Naira. A bit of good news, even though it's not on all fronts. But we saw the Naira yesterday strengthened. We saw 46 Naira 19 kobo added. That's at NAFEM. So it opened at 1,400. Remember this time yesterday we were talking about how the Naira was 1,400 Naira 40 kobo and closed at 1,354 Naira 21 kobo. That's a 3.30% gain on the Naira. NAFEX 1,399 Naira 37 kobo, and it opened at 1,402 Naira. That's a 0.27. But I heard that in the parallel market it was actually lower. It was still around 1,004. That's a reverse of the trend we've been having in recent times. Recent times we've been having the BDCs with more value than the official. But let's find out more with Dumebi. Dumebi Oluwale is a senior associate with financial derivatives. Hi, Dumebi. Good morning.
Good morning, Ini.
Good morning. So I'm tired of reporting the Naira depreciating, but I don't want to put my hope on this because I don't know if it's permanent or if it's just a blip that by tomorrow this time will be on the reverse, you know. But do we know why we saw this appreciation yesterday? I mean, if you look at the NAFEM, which is the busiest of the official market, it was up more than 3%. That's impressive. Do we know what drove it?
I mean, from the look of things and what we've analyzed so far, low trading is primarily the reason why this has happened. And it's simply because, you know, we're coming from the weekend. There's not a lot of demand right now. Demand at the official market was low. And then we saw an upsurge in demand at the parallel market. So that's why you're seeing the parallel market rate actually depreciate as against the official market appreciating. A significant thing to actually note is that the average daily turnover at the official window, that's the NAFEM window, actually significantly declined between last week Friday and this Monday. So that basically tells you that the transaction activities at the official window was significantly lower. And meanwhile, we saw an upsurge in, you know, demand activities, at the parallel market.
Are people getting confident, more confident in the parallel market again? Because that used to be the case, but I thought the story had changed.
I mean, it's not completely the case. So what we have seen so far is with the Naira's depreciating trend all through last week, and I think the week before, some level of confidence had been down. So it's a kind of thing where you're having panic buying at the parallel market, where people have a lot more access to a lot more BDCs and they're able to increase their demand, changing their dollar. So that's one of the reasons why we said at the beginning of last week, so even though there was some level of fundamentals that backs the Naira's decline, speculative activities, bearish investor sentiment also pervaded the market, increasing, you know, influx of demand at the parallel market, causing the parallel market rate to depreciate. So this is just a symptom of, you know, the FX market destabilization somewhat, where there's some level of speculation, especially with the Bloomberg article that came out, you know, with the bond highlighting the increase in the bond rate of the forex reserves. And then we also heard the CBN governor speaking. I think it was at an IMF press briefing or something, so where he highlighted the fact that, oh no, that it's not an increase in interventions that, you know, that are drawing down the reserves. So it's debt repayment. Regardless of whatever the case might have been, the truth of the matter is that the bond rate on the FX reserves was significant enough to attract or to get the markets rattled somewhat, and that has continued to, you know, destabilize the FX market and reverse the gains in the Naira.
Do we know how long this, I mean, because a lot of times when I talk about it, people tell me, oh, it's trying to find its feet, the Naira is trying to find its feet. Do we know how long this finding its feet could take? Does this look like it's going to stay, or?
Yeah. So the thing is, so I'll start by talking about the fit and then answer the question about whether it's going to stay. So the first one about the fit, this trend that we're seeing, the volatility in the currency, it's not new, especially when when a country has decided to, you know, go on the path of reforms, simply because. Now I'm going into the reason whether it's going to stay or not. So simply because we have transitioned from a fixed exchange rate system, at least based on what the CBN governor has said, we've moved to a willing buyer, willing seller model. And we're seeing a lot of effort on the monetary policy side of things to ensure that this FX transparency is open. When we know what exactly is going on with the Naira, demand and supply is actually determining what the exchange rate will be. Not because there's no room for interventions. There is room, because we're at a tipping point, and it's extremely important that when the time comes, CBN should be able to intervene. But then you also
But would you say the CBN has stopped intervening?
I wouldn't say that.
I think it was 2 weeks ago, we did see sale to banks. The one to the BDCs is even more constant. Even though I don't think we had any last week, but the upper week we did have that. You know, so I don't know if to say that intervention from the CBN is out.
No, I didn't say it was out. What I'm saying is that there is, because of the model that we have transitioned into, you don't expect that to be the core of what is driving your exchange rate. We're coming from a world where it was the CBN supplying that determined, and CBN actually determining what the exchange rate will be. We have moved from there. And what I was trying to highlight is that interventions at a critical time like this will happen. It's not news that, you know, I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. What I'm saying is it's not outside of the scope of what we're seeing now, even though we have transitioned for it to happen. So I don't know if you're understanding. Yes. So basically what I'm saying is that the trend we're seeing now is not, I don't think it's going to be sustained for a very long time. But I do think that we will continue to see market fundamentals determine what the Naira will be. And if there is need, which there will be, we might see the CBN stepping up to somewhat support the currency so we don't see significant depreciations. And remember, Nigeria's exchange rate market is very determined by how much dollar inflows that we get. I think this is even common knowledge for every FX market. And we have seen bearish sentiments from almost all fronts of FX supply into the country. Crude oil production is down. And what that means is that our earnings from crude oil is also declining. Non-oil exports as well, even though we're seeing that ramp up, we also need to understand that the revenue from there as well is not as buoyant because we're not producing so much. Case in point, cocoa. We're not producing as much, so we're not earning as much.
And very painful when cocoa prices were surging.
Very high. We're not benefiting.
We did not benefit.
Exactly.
Even the farmers did not benefit. The country did not benefit.
Exactly. So that tells you that, dollar reserves from our key sources of revenue are declining. Then you go into dollar inflows from investors, right? Primarily foreign portfolio investors at the moment. We're seeing capital outflows, right? So that as well.
Is it payout season?
Not exactly. I would say that this is just, again, it's symptomatic of whatever is happening in the economy today, right? So we see, especially foreign portfolio, remember it's hot money. So if they notice anything that is not exactly giving them what they should get, they will quickly take out their funds. And we've seen an influx of, foreign portfolio investors into the equities market because that's primarily where they will invest. But we're also seeing an increase in capital outflows. Remember, the stock market, because of the high interest rate environment, we're seeing a stock market correction, right? So we're seeing the stock market being bearish, and that is another reason why that is happening, is because we're seeing a lot of outflows, right? So meaning that foreign exchange coming into the country is declining, and that is capping the CBN's ability.
What happened to our remittances? But we don't really have time. There's diesel. I really want to talk about the diesel. We know Dangote cut the price lower than 1,000, but I hear it's about 1,200 now.
Yes. Yeah. Remember, a lot of these things are fueled by the Naira, right? And remember, right now we have, especially the diesel market is deregulated, right? So if anything happens to a key input material, it will definitely affect their prices. And the exchange rate is a key determinant of what the price of diesel will be. If you remember, I think there was a period where diesel prices were declining, and it coincided with when the Naira was appreciating. So now that the Naira has depreciated, the prices are back up. I think one good thing to remember is that we're now in a world where commodity prices, especially energy prices primarily, are no longer being subsidized as much as they were, right? So consumers would need to expect that if today the Naira depreciated, most likely you might see that also reflect in energy prices.
Yes. All right, Dumebi, thank you so much for that explanation. Dumebi Oluwole, you'll have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, another conversation is waiting for you, and there might be an opportunity for you to invest in infrastructure. Did you know that? Well, join us in a moment.
34 million hectares of arable land. Over 200 million people. One nation. Home to Africa's fertilizer company. Dangote fertilizer. Pure urea fertilizer. With one single-minded passion to feed Nigeria. Every bag is a potential, an aspiration to turn this green nation into the biggest food basket of Africa. Dangote fertilizer.
You're welcome back. So this might be that opportunity you've been waiting for in the midst of macroeconomic headwinds. You may be able to get an opportunity to invest in infrastructure. After all, Nigeria does have a structural development gap, and you may be able to be part of it. Let's speak now with Mr. Uche Nankparu. Mr. Uche Nankparu, he is the fund manager and chief investment officer with United Capital. Mr. Nankparu, thanks so much for your time. Good morning.
Thank you, Ini. Thank you for having me here.
So, I mean, the country is not smiling at this time.
Understandably
It's not
so.
smiling at this time. So we're looking for any opportunity where we can invest. And when we hear infrastructural fund and opportunities for investment, it just makes a lot of people excited. But first of all, let's talk about your company. You are an investment company, and you are able to attract investments and all of that. And you're the only one that is listed.
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah, an investment company that is listed. I say congratulations on that. But tell us about the infrastructure projects and the opportunities that are available to investors.
Okay, so what I would do really quickly is to speak about United Capital as a group. We're a group that have been around for about 60 years, right? We've undergone a transformation. Over the last 6 years, we have tried to do two things: diversification and growth. And diversification is across product lines, across the markets we operate in, across the counterparties we're engaging with. Now, on the growth side, we're always trying to reinvent ourselves to say, what are the new opportunities, what are the new products and services that our investors, our investing public would like to see? This was what led us to, amongst other different products, launch the United Capital Infrastructure Fund. We launched the fund in 2021, and the premise behind that fund was to say, how can we provide long-term financing for infrastructure projects? Infrastructure projects typically need you to provide capital over a longer period, sometimes 10 years, sometimes 15 years. The question was then, who is able to provide this? And so we designed this product and launched the fund into the market, and we've received quite a bit of positive reaction from the market for that.
So I see that you do transportation, energy, renewables. Why should I be interested in that? Or mostly, one expects some of these things, when you talk about infrastructure, major infrastructure, one expects it to come from the federal government. So if I have to be a part of it, am I going to wait for 10 years? Is it a toll I used to get my money? Do you understand? People are watching to say, what are the opportunities I can invest in that can be a hedge at a time when inflation numbers are galloping, you know, in the country?
And it's a fantastic way you frame it, which is to say, government does have a role, right? So why should we be worried about, why should we be inclined to support a private vehicle that is doing this? But I can give you a number of examples. All of us woke up one morning and saw that, well, there's been a split. There's some of us that are now in band A, which means we pay more for energy. It's a great thing, because it means that a private company can now supply you electricity 24/7, and you no longer have to run your diesel generators, you no longer have to stand in long fuel queues. And so when you have private companies now able to provide those services at a commercial rate, if you are invested in that, then you are earning a return at a commercial rate for those very attractive services. And so it's the same story across power, where we're invested in renewable energy, industrial infrastructure.
So individuals from the public can invest in this?
Absolutely, absolutely.
With plenty money or small money?
With small money. Because we recognize that, you know, you have all sorts of investors. Some of our investors are the bigger corporates, pension funds, but then we also have smaller investors, individual investors who say, I want to participate, I want to get in, I want to be able to put my capital into something that it will be giving me a yield steady, not just for me, but also for my children over the next 10 years. And so we find that a number of investors, every time we have an offer in the market for our infrastructure fund, they would start to send in applications, and we're happy to take on that capital.
But these days where purchasing power has been hammered and beaten, and we still have, for instance, the 0.5 cyber security levy coming from the CBN, are people really going into investment? Because you would think that people just want to survive. The basics, have increased in prices.
And you're absolutely right that we have experienced people having a reduced purchasing power. But even in those situations, there is always a merit to continue to invest. And so what you can then potentially do is say, I might not have all of that money, but I can give the small I have to United Capital, and we can put it into the infrastructure fund and several of our other products that will generate a decent return.
And the security for my investment, or should I go to the NGX, I go to the stock market, I can go to the fixed income market, instead of all this infrastructure fund. You know, you don't want to wake up one day and then the company is disappear.
And it's a good way to frame it. But here's the answer to that. You want to play in the securities market, our securities business will support you. They will show you the ropes. They release regular reports every week giving you stock recommendations. If you want to play in the fixed income market, our asset management business will support you. If you want to play in, and if you want to get a product that is very, very specialized, so beyond our infrastructure fund, you say to yourself, you're a father, you're an uncle, you're a brother, you have a daughter, you have a niece, you have a wife, you want to help them grow. There's something called our Wealth for Women Fund, which is a fund that is specifically designed to empower women. So with us at United Capital, there's a whole breadth. And that's why when I spoke to our transformation, our 6-year transformation, diversification is one of the things we do.
So you are the fund manager, we're talking about infrastructure. We've been talking about the deficit in Nigeria's infrastructure for a while. We talk about PPP. I just want to get your thoughts. We've had the government introduce tax reduction and tax holiday, you know, in exchange for contribution and all of that. But it seems it's not very common or not well embraced, you know, or perhaps you want to correct that perception. I mean, the reality in the country at this time.
So again, I think that you have touched it, that the embracing of it as a principle is still building up momentum. We've had PPPs since as far back as 2005. But our history they haven't been always as successful as you would like. What happened was it was in its infancy stage then, and so the market needed to learn how to execute those projects, how to contract with each other. Now, that market has matured. In my other life, I was actually working with government regulating PPP projects. So there's a lot of familiarity, myself and the team, on PPP projects. Now, as the market matures, a number of opportunities have now opened. We closed an investment on our infrastructure fund about 8-10 weeks ago. It was a PPP project between a state government and a private company who has delivered a power plant to them, and we financed that. Now, when the lights came on for that power plant was supplying electricity across the state capital. But one of the key facilities it was supplying that electricity to is a hospital. And the CMD at the hospital, he was very emotional when the lights came on because he said, we have had equipment here that we've been unable to use because we can't power it. We can't keep it cool at the temperature it needs to stay at. We have had erratic power. And so just having a steady power supply has transformed the reality for that hospital. So that's what PPPs can do. That's what our infrastructure fund is trying to support.
But what do you think more state governments are not, you know, embracing the PPP? Even if it's just electricity, I think Nigerians are very hardworking, you know, and productive individuals, that if you give them a good environment and power, you know, a lot of people will just...
Inni, I agree with you completely.
So since you work with government, please tell us what they think about.
We're engaging with them. A lot of things have happened recently that have helped. The passage of the Electricity Act was huge. And so we're seeing a lot of catch-up. A couple of weeks ago, NERC, that's the federal regulator, has now said states can then run their own regulatory board. We're now in talks with several of these state governments, and we're getting a lot of interest from them. And we're happy to work with all of them to provide electricity as a base to build our economic growth.
Okay, please do push them to embrace it.
We certainly will.
Mr. Uchenna Okaro, Fund Manager, Chief Investment Officer with United Cap.
Thank you, Inni. Thank you for having me.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll do a little bit of the markets and then head back to the Sunrise Daily Studios. Stay with us.
My kids are more than precious to me. Seeing them doing well and happy brings me so much joy. I know it's my responsibility to ensure they're well nourished. So I use Dangote salt in my cooking. It is high-quality salt that's refined and iodized to give great taste to my meals and also support my family's health and well-being. And it's got a name that I trust. Dangote salt is refined and iodized to prevent iron deficiency disorders. So give your family meals that taste delicious and support their well-being with Dangote salt. It's time to care about your salt. Choose quality. Choose Dangote salt.
Welcome back now. Let's look at the numbers from the market yesterday. We had our hearts broken yesterday. If you remember, if you watch Business Incorporated, at intraday we're celebrating our regain to the 100,000 level. But guess what? Less than an hour or so after that, the market had dropped. Even did drop to 99,000, but 98,000. It closed at 98,703. And the corporate here is Airtel Nigeria. I think investors in Airtel Nigeria, they did a lot of profit taking towards the close of trade yesterday. So we saw the market drop 0.89% and now ended at 55.823 trillion naira. We did see a lot of green. Looking at the volume, value, and deals, the volume was down. Value at 8.95. A lot of deals yesterday. The market should actually have been in the green yesterday, but for that last-minute movement by a lot of investors in Airtel Nigeria, that's what brought the market down. Because when you look at the sectors and all this, the Fugas, for instance, they did do their best, their very best. Top trades had Access Code, UBA, and GT Core, and it should actually have been a green one, but investors in Airtel Nigeria did the magic and brought the market down to 98,703. But I will give you intraday numbers at 1 p.m. later on today on Business Incorporated. And don't forget, we have that conversation on that 0.5% on your transactions, your electronic transactions, the cyber security levy, which should begin from the 20th of May. Find out how that could affect you. That'll be at 1 p.m. So, but now let's head back to the Sunrise Daily Studios.
Yeah, welcome back. I mean, I can see the headline already. Nigerians reject 0.5% cybersecurity levy. What is this levy about again? Everywhere you turn, there's a levy, one levy or the other. Oh, yeah.
Well, an explanation, you know. It's just, I'm so distressed by this story.
The 0.5%?
Yeah, the 0.5. It's cybersecurity. What is it about? Maybe an explanation, you know, maybe will help us better understand, you know, why this is important, because there's so many levies. Okay, all right. Well, until we get that explanation, we'll just be here.
I wonder
if
they don't already understand that the diesel price, the cost of petrol, transportation is already levying us to what? Oh boy. All right. Yeah. So just sounding off right there. But now in the studios we've got leadership consultant here with us. He is the CEO and the main man for Goatney. That's Linus Okorie, MFR. He is here with us to talk leadership. You know, when they say a lot rises and falls with leadership, he is to talk about it for us here. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, my brother. I'm glad to be here this morning.
Leadership has slammed another 0.5% charge on us now. So we'll have to think about that when the time comes, if it's not already here. But it's a big question, a big challenge, big hurdle that we face in Nigeria, in Africa. I mean, even our president has said that much, that Africa seems to have leadership question that we need to improve upon. You've been at this for decades. So from what you've seen, I mean, where are we at the moment with this big question about leadership? Are we making any gains whatsoever?
So first thing first, I'd like to state my experience I had a couple of years ago at the Harvard Kennedy School. We have come from all over the world. These are top guys in leadership development, and we've come to discuss the future of leadership. Where would leadership be going in the next couple of years? And in class, we're 62. And so I scanned the room and I began to look at the data. 11 came from Australia. Some came from Canada. Some came from the US itself. Some came from Singapore, Brazil, even India. These guys gathered to discuss the future of leadership development. But guess what? The whole of Africa, there were only 2 people. One from Morocco, one from Nigeria. And I began to say to a continent that is so deficit of leadership capital, there is no round table anywhere. There's no budget anywhere that is designed towards building the leadership capital of citizens to prepare them to take important leadership decisions that can change lives. Let me even shock you that leadership deficit situations have led to deaths in hospitals. Just the nurse not able to play a leadership role. As simple as not even be able to work with a team or work with the teams is cost so much. Government officials have lost so much resources by wasting those resources as a result of not being able to sit and plan projects in a sustainable way. Do you know what I'm talking about? You see, if you look at every single businesses are dying every day. Do you know the amount of businesses that die every day just because the CEO made just one decision that is leadership deficit? So what we're talking to you about is that the most important element of building institutions and building cultures that can transform is leadership. And there's no huge investment around leadership development.
If I go backtrack a bit, what was your mindset? What made you start Gotney Leadership Center?
You know, 31 years ago, I was only 19 years old. And I had read, there's a book in the Bible called Nehemiah. That book, I had just finished studying that book, literally. And I saw a guy driven with leadership qualities, competencies. This guy was able to transform his country from the king's palace. He came, left in sacrifice to rebuild Jerusalem, So I just saw that kind of leadership capital. I felt I scanned society. I couldn't find a lot of leaders with those type of selfless attributes, those types of visionary attributes, those types of honor attribute, integrity attribute. And I just felt, why don't we start now to groom the next generation of leaders for our country? And that was how I worked for 3 days. And until the idea came to set up Gotney. And Gotney, I took it into the university. And a case study, all the people that were well groomed from my first year in the university till the 3rd year, when some of us assumed leadership positions in school, from head of Borakbo groups or departments, I was student union president. Each and every one of us who were groomed made a big difference in their various departments. So what it means is that there's connection between leadership competencies and growth of organizations and prosperity and progress. So that's the point. So this is 31 years of my, pushing, trying to push the system to recognize that investment in leadership development in a massive way can change nations.
We've seen generations of leaders in this country come and go. And then there are generations that are waiting to come on board. When a younger generation took over, well, in some states, many had hopes as they had previously. They thought, okay, maybe it might be better. But today, not exactly what many thought. And then they're also wondering, if another generation comes up and takes over the saddle, is there any guarantee, is there any such word that we should know that probably the kind of impact your institute has had on some persons who have attended, is it going to be able to make any difference?
The interesting thing is that a great man said, we are blind until we know that nothing is worth the making if it doesn't make the man. Why builders the city is glorious, why man unbuilded goes. And so that brings me to the grooming process. In our university systems, go check it out. There is no curriculum that specifically prepares people from secondary or university or whatever to become leaders. And so it's not whether you are young or old. If you're a young person and you are in a leadership position and you have not been groomed and to imbibe certain leadership competencies, the fact that you are young, have energy, doesn't guarantee that you produce as a leader. I was at the National Assembly when I did my youth service many years ago. I saw some of the smartest young leaders in Nigeria, young who were in National Assembly. Some of them ended up becoming governors in the future. And many of them didn't make any difference. Why? Because a lot of them weren't thinking legacy. They weren't thinking from the leadership worldview. When the bug of leadership hits you as a person, when you think common good. That's why Simon Sinek wrote a book and he titled it, Leaders Eat Last. That's when that bug hits you. You're no longer thinking about self in your decision-making process. What you're thinking is, what legacy should I leave here? So sacrifice becomes important. Delayed gratification becomes important, right? Concept of selflessness becomes important. So decision-making is not based on you. What will that impact you? It's based on what it will impact the common good. So imagine if you have critical mass of leaders with a worldview that is sacrifice before self.
I mean, it's informative that this conversation is coming up at this point in time because, you know, the focus for national growth and development in Nigeria, at least for the recent time, is moving away from followers to leaders. Because what we've noticed over the years is, you know, when we're trying to look at national development or growth, we focus on the people. But now the focus is turning to the leaders. Now, you've said something very pertinent, which is the fact that, you know, people in leadership position may not have necessarily the skills for actual leadership.
Absolutely.
What do we do about that? What can be done? Is it trainings like the ones you do? We're already talking about people who are in office. So someone said to me recently that the philosophy of Nigeria is get into power, steal what you can, and go away.
Steal what you can.
Steal what you can and go away, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Go into power, steal what you can and leave.
That's not good.
How do we get people who are already in political office to be able to imbibe these principles, or are we just stuck with them until they're tired?
So the interesting thing is that I had a group of very senior executives who were retiring from active service. And after spending a couple of days at our leadership center, some of them wept, literally. They said, we've traveled the world learning on how to be leaders. So why didn't we have an experience to attend your program while we were still serving the system? Which brings to the point that there's no, even if, you know, they're already political leaders and they were not groomed to political leaders, earlier they submit themselves. This principle of I know nothing, right? Leaders say to themselves, I know nothing, I want to become more. Submitting themselves for leadership training, policies set up by government that at different levels of operations, whether at the political level or at the civil service level, there will be a leadership training, not by portmanteau carrying people who are favored by, because when we say leadership training, what I normally see happen is that, you know, the powers that be within systems throw up relations or relatives for the purpose of taking something out of the budget created for so-called training.
So let's talk a bit about...
So at the end of the day, that doesn't happen. The real training doesn't happen. So if we create an opportunity for leadership training to happen at that level, Take for instance, I'm challenging the government systems. All of the ministers who are serving, all of the guys who are in the National Assembly, all of the guys who are in the states, right? Can they be locked up? Create a program where they're locked up in a room and leadership development systems is created in a very huge way. You will see that there will be a difference like never before.
Oh, you know, these things happen quite a lot. They travel around the world for these trainings.
No, but I just told you right now that
they travel
around
the world for these trainings. What I really want to get to is, you know, if some of the virtues, leadership virtues that you're
competencies about.
Honesty, you know, leaders eat last. That's a beautiful phrase. I don't know why someone is looking at me. Leaders eat last. Leaders eat last. It's the fact. You're supposed to eat last. No, not first. Last. You know, if you bring all of these virtues and you're educating people who are in leadership position, you know, on these things, there's the bigger problem that the system, in many ways, does not support these virtues. And when I'm talking about systems, you know what I mean. We're talking about structures of governance. They may not be equipped to support these virtues. They'll spit you out. In fact, that's the reason why many people who are actually trained to be leaders in Nigeria do not want any parts of it because they don't want the drama that comes with all of that. How do you reconcile that?
So the interesting thing is that there's a room for transformational leadership. I have seen, even within the government systems, I've seen few leaders emerge. And I have seen these leaders make a big difference, whether it's at the state level or the national level. From time to time, you see them just emerge. And because they are ready with a mindset that they're not going to give up, the system will challenge whatever values that they represent. But what leaders are known for is pushing through the systems to achieve the objectives and the goals that they have in mind. What I'm saying is that we need a critical mass of people with the right leadership worldview and within systems and organizations. And one of the ways that you can make this happen is when there is an intentional, deliberate policy for leadership development that is not based on self-interest, that is based on the common good, that is based on this is where we are going to as a country, and people have to submit themselves for leadership training. And when they are about to award that type of training systems, they must award those type of trainings to people whose calling, literally, is to make that happen, not to contractors. That's the point I'm making. Because if you award leadership training to contractors, people who do not have passion for it, commitment for it, knowledge for it. I mean, for the past 31 years, I've traveled the world and sat at some of the best institutions in the world and under some of the best individuals in the world. And so far, we're talking about, at least I have the experience to talk about, you know, leadership at this type of levels. And when we're talking about the future, the current situation right now, we need 21st century leaders who think differently at all, whether it is at the government level or civil service level, or at the state levels, or even at, the local government level. We need that type of conversation. And even private sector organizations as well. So we're not just talking about government. We're saying that everywhere you have human beings, we want to find people who have emotional intelligence to high heavens. We want to find people who have executive intelligence, high level. We want to have people who have vision intelligence, high level. We want to have people who have values intelligence at high level. We want to see people who have capacity to work with all manner of human beings and still are selfless in the process and achieve the big result. Those things don't happen. You create them. That's why we need, in the whole of this country, will it shock you that there's no leadership university in this country? In the whole of West Africa, will it shock you that you can't find any sustainable? One had to go to Region in America to do my master's in organizational leadership when I wanted to do that, paying heavily. Do you know how much capital flight that goes out people go out to go and take courses that they have that might not be related to our environment in that sense? So what I'm saying to you right now is that the big must-have in Nigeria will be institutions that are promoting leadership capital at very high levels.
So what do you think is missing? I mean, we've seen several people who feel they can't get into politics because they feel politics is dirty. They think that it will rubbish whatever little name or integrity they have. And that's why you see in different states, it depends on which state you pick now. Either the successor or predecessor at each other's throats. Then at the federal level, you hear one of our guests did tell us, well, the president at that time was good, but people around him and so policies ended up that way. And then there's a school of thought that says, if at least, well, those who probably might have gone through the four walls of the schools, who have little training, if they were to get in there, things might have been better. So I'm asking, if different classes of people, maybe in political offices, were to attend a leadership university, you're working on one right now, so hoping it comes on stream soon. If they were to attend that kind of institution, will it, for instance, make those who thought, there's no point going into that place because it's not for me, will it change mindset? Will it cause those kind of people to get in there, or what?
Absolutely. There are two ways to this. There's a leadership development investment that should come from when people are very young, at different ages, primary school, secondary school, up to university, even mid-continuous learning leadership development program, even where they are in their workplaces, as the case may be, till they rise to certain levels. But while they are still at those high levels, right, the greatest factor for leadership development is when leaders know that they know nothing. Aristotle, Socrates, in all their learning, were masters and custodians of knowledge. They went around town telling everybody, I know nothing, I know nothing. So if I want to see a leader, the sign that I will see in a leader, I know this leader will go far, is when the leader says, hey, I know nothing. I need to grow my leadership skills. It's continuum. Even if I'm president of the country, it does nothing wrong for me to sit in and have a private leadership development coach, right? Leaders do it all over the world, right? So what I'm saying is that if you are a managing director of a company or a director general of an institution, that is the best time to submit yourself to a leadership development process. What that does for you is that people who are following you will learn, be inspired to learn, to say, whoa, if this my boss can submit himself to grow and learn and become, then have no choice than to. So you build a team that is a learning system that guides them. That's one of the things that is missing.
What you're holding a leadership conference for Africa.
Absolutely.
What kind of impact do you hope to make? Because of course there's a school of thought that says, "Whoa, Africa, that's a big one. Is that not a drop in the ocean?" I mean, what do you hope to achieve with that?
So we decided that since we've been talking about this in Nigeria, it was time for us to get out of Nigeria and begin to build a leadership capital culture across Africa. As a result of that, we decided to go to Accra, Ghana, at Kempinski, 17th and 18th of this month. We'll be hosting 600 leaders from all over the continent of Africa, from Nigeria, from different parts of the world. These are leaders who are coming in to learn, to say, I know nothing. 2 days of leadership development. And the theme of the conference is transformational leadership, panacea for Africa's rising. If Africa must rise, then we need a critical mass of transformational leaders, people with a big vision, people with a heart and soul to serve, people with high-level principles to say, you know what, we want to be examples of leadership. We want to change things. And so this is exactly what we're trying to do. So private sector, public sector people, they're all going to come around into Accra, Ghana, and everybody's going to be in that place learning and building their capacities.
In the trainings you've conducted, because I've seen some Africans have also come for your trainings, what is the dominant feature that you notice almost on a consistent basis amongst everyone who comes in?
So first thing that shocks me literally is the fact that a majority of the people who show up, literally, they have stopped reading long time ago. And so you can imagine, having people who occupy public positions and they don't have time to read. They don't have time to read. Meanwhile, there are changes, daily changes going on in the world today. The things have changed. That's it. So you're operating in a place where you don't have the requisite knowledge to deal with real situations that are on ground. Because it's a knowledge-based economy, as I'm talking to you right now, and leadership flows to the one who knows. And so if you do not know, how do you lead? So by the time they leave the leadership center, I see people task themselves and say, you know what, going forward, 1 book per week. And I follow through with some of them, and I see that a lot of them are transformed, literally, and they see progress happen in their organizations as a result of that. I have one CEO who, after attending the program, decided that every member of his team would have to build a new pattern of reading 1 book per week. And when he gave me the result of what was going on, they were changing, they were transforming, and the organization began to transform. So a transformational leader, first of all, is driven by a big vision, and that vision specifically enables that individual to begin to lead change in the organization. And while that change is going on, the members are changing. He himself is changing.
I'm
That's
just curious. You know, yes, good to read, but we've seen persons come from the ivory tower. They get into offices, and goodness, you never would have thought they came from the ivory tower, where they do all the reading. Well, maybe I should use this. I could be wrong on this one, but the times that we had VCs with Professor Jega doing things for the elections, I saw dominant narrative from Nigerians who felt, no. Look, we had enough of professors coming to do these things because there's no improvement in some of the results and the way it comes across. So that's the impression you have about even those who come from the ivory tower. We don't see that kind of impact.
So you see, that's the point I'm making. You see, there's what we call leadership capital balance. The leadership capital balance stipulates, right, that you can have 60% over 100 into your intelligence. You can have 80% over 100 in your intelligence. But if your leadership capital balance on integrity is 5%, right, your vision balance is 5% of 100. And you have in all these key attitudinal, sound leadership capital systems, they are 10%, courage is 10% and all of that. Even if you are the most intelligent man in the room with 3 PhDs and all of that, you're definitely not making any difference.
But you know what they say?
So the connection, the point I'm making is that the fact that you have gone to school with certification doesn't place you on a leadership
But what about what they say that before you're given those certification, you have been examined in character and learning?
So the point I'm making is that the way our educational systems are designed globally is for people to become professionals, right, in specifics. So you say mathematics, you can be a professor of mathematics. But when it comes to the leadership knowledge, right, how to even work with teams, you fail.
Maybe we should add that to what happens, what you graduate with, character learning and leadership.
Do you understand what I'm saying? The systems
Because character and learning does not mean you're going to be a good leader.
That's what I'm saying. The systems, in fact, you can be a good person, quote me. You can be a good person.
But a terrible leader.
Or a terrible leader. Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make. That, what we're saying to you is that the body of knowledge around leadership is huge. You have to learn decision making. It's a leadership. You have to learn how to work with difficult people. It's a leadership skill. That's why you can see a man who everybody knows is a good man, has integrity, but goes into the leadership, political leadership, for instance, and he doesn't understand how to even work with teams, or he doesn't have enough vision that can drive the process. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Are happening
or
behind
things are happening
back.
behind him. So how do you not know how to bring, smart and intelligent people around you as a leader? So when you fail, they say it's people around you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the responsibility of leadership is much more than you can ever imagine. So that's why I'm telling you that leadership is a body of knowledge that the people are just scratching. You need huge investment around it.
Okay, so we do thank you for coming on. We also do wish you well for the forthcoming Africa Leadership Conference happening in Accra, Ghana. We've just had a conversation with Linus Okorie, MFR, the CEO of Goatney Leadership Center. And so you can also go ahead and contact him with numbers you've seen on the screen. Or better still, if you send an email, you can always forward them to him. So you should attend it because, you know, there are difficult people everywhere. So I think it will help everybody. It will help us all. Okay. Let's have a look at some feedback coming from you. Divine Chukuma talking about Tinubu's policy says, I really appreciate the way questions were asked to the former Minister of Communication. I've noticed that when any of these office holders in government are queried concerning the economy and welfare of the common Nigerians, they don't give explicit answers. Many of them don't think of how we Nigerians are suffering. He says, may God help us.
All right. Thank you, Divine Chukuma, for that particular message there. Do we have any more?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay, so Femi, can we have Femi's message up so we can hear what...
Is it too far?
I think they're trying to get that one up, but very interesting there from Divine Chukuma. I think we're talking about it, I think, at some point during the break, you know, where we have to bridge that gap, you know. All right, let's see. My condolence to the parents of the dead child. This is from Femi Omobaba. My condolences to the parents of the dead child, but people should not come on TV to malign a school and potentially damage their reputation without proper evidence. Until proper investigation is done, it is wrong for anyone to conjecture on the cause of death of the unfortunate child. That woman, not the child's mother, who was singing, accusing the school of killing children, was way out of order. And I hope the school authorities will institute appropriate measures in the court of law to seek redress. Thank you, Femi Omobaba, for that one.
We understand that we've got a lot more. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, and, you know, while we're getting the next one, of course, Femi, you know, it's a very emotional situation where, of course, caution is important.
Yeah, look at this one. Lekon talking about corruption in police says, I'm glad that you created this platform to air public opinion. I'll be quick with my discuss. I'm using a different identity to avoid being traced to who the officer might be. I learned there's a consequence for exposing the anomaly. My brother was transferred from the southwest to the extreme eastern state in 10 years, since 10 years, without any transfer benefit. No house, no money, no family package. Neither was he given transport fare. Oh. Okay, he goes on to say he's been sleeping in the office or sometimes in the religious house where he worships. Anytime he comes home once in a year from the meager salary, we, the family members, do contribute for him to transfer himself back to work in the East, to the extent that I told him the police force should do their worst if they don't see him resume work. He pleaded that he doesn't have any other means to use to sustain his family if he is dismissed before I contributed my quota. Pretty lengthy. He says, I use this means to air the voice of other officers out there facing similar treatment to help them use your resources to tell the authority to either make them permanent, that's what he means, in their service, or do the needful. If condition warrants posting to other regions of the state, imagine living a young family for 10 years to be seen just once in a year without good incentives. Okay, well, making a case for citizens, Nigerian police force. We hope that that is corrected. Well, that is the show today. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Osop. Goodbye.
Have a great day ahead. I'm Kayla Megwa.